Baldur's Gate 3 in 2026 is a must-play experience. That's what I want to talk about today, is just how much this game slaps, okay? This game still outbeats most video games ever created up till this point. And today I'm going to be giving you a Baldur's Gate 3 2026 review. Now, this game is not just good because of this, but that does help. So welcome back, my wonderful wise ones, to a fantastic video today as we take a look back at Baldur's Gate 3. Now, it's kind of insane that this game has been out for 2 years now, and I kind of feel bad for the people who played this game in installments when it was released in early access. Playing this now as a complete package in 2026 has just been a fantastic experience. So I'm going to discuss why that is today, and if you've never touched this game or if you're thinking of going back and playing it again, I'm going to tell you the reasons why you should, because this is an absolute masterpiece and it deserves more attention, actually, I think, because so many games today are released and none of them come close to the level of Baldur's Gate 3, and it was a standout in 2023 for sure, but this needs to be held up as a beacon of how to do an RPG, how to do storytelling in video games, and how to create a, game that actually stands the test of time. So there are many moments in this game that just stand out as memorable, and that's just something that you don't get in most modern day games today. It seems like today gaming has become simplified, stripped back, and it's basically created for the average consumer. Now, this is mostly because Baldur's Gate 3 is of course built on D&D and the D&D universe, and I just think that it's crazy to me that this game has introduced so many people to D&D and role-playing games in general, actual deep role-playing games. That was one of this game's biggest strengths, if you ask me, because there are just so many different ways to play this game. When you hear the term RPG in modern gaming today, it's usually like a light sprinkle of mechanics, a skill tree, a perk tree, and some A and B, C dialogue choices. Baldur's Gate is a true proper RPG that you can play it 1,000 times and still discover something new, and that is what we should be expecting from AAA games today, not this kind of half-baked slop that most games are. Now, it's great to be back recording videos again for you, my wise ones. If you are new here, do consider subscribing, liking the video. That does actually help a lot. Get this video out to more people because it's a constant battle against the algorithm. So please do like the video, share it around. And if you're new, subscribe, become a wise one if you do love game analysis, game reviews, and philosophical content. Now, I do hope you had a good new year. And yeah, let's just get straight into why you should play Baldur's Gate 3 in 2026. And I do hope you enjoy this Baldur's Gate 3 2026 review.
Oh no! Oh God! Well, it was nice when it lasted.
Now, there will be some light spoilers, so if you've never played Baldur's Gate 3, I highly suggest you do so, but at the same time, don't worry too much, because like I said, you can play this game 1,000 ways and have a completely different storyline, so spoilers don't really matter that much in the few examples that I will be giving. But one thing that Baldur's Gate 3 does so well is morality choices, which so many RPGs try and fail at because they give you this kind of very classic video gamey good versus bad choice to make, where Baldur's Gate 3 is much more morally grey, and that's what I love in RPG games like the older Fallout games and stuff like that. This is where it actually asks you, the player, to engage in the world, invest in the universe, the story, the lore, the characters, because the choices that you make matter because the characters and the world are so well realized that it actually makes you so immersed in the experience that you become invested. Now, one of the best examples I can think of is the quest line with Astarion, and this is just a fantastic standalone quest, which could be its own massive game if it was any other game. And it's just so well written, so well realized, and the fact that there are so many morality choices to make in this one simple quest line just shows you the depth that this game has. That's the core thing about Baldur's Gate 3. It's the depth that it actually has that makes it so special and so beloved, and I think it will stand the test of time, just because of how well all of these different aspects come together. So in this, you might think you have a very black and white situation, let Astarion become this vampire lord and become, gain all of this power, and then he becomes evil, or perhaps, make him realize that this won't actually fulfill him. But then there's deeper levels on top of that, like what do you actually do with all the spawn that will be released onto the world that will kill hundreds and thousands of people? What is the right decision to make then? So it becomes a very morally grey decision where you have to actually think about the repercussion, not just to the characters that you've grown attached to, but to the greater world as well. And you do actually get to see these repercussions later throughout the game, and that's what makes this such a fulfilling experience. It's not just told to you that something's going to happen, you don't see any of it. There's always going to be consequences to your actions. To me, that's what makes a solid RPG experience. Baldur's Gate 3 absolutely nails that, but then it goes above and beyond because of the characters and the writing. So now, speaking of the characters, the writing, and the world building, okay, this is where it makes it not just a video game, but an experience in my eyes. Most games, okay, they have very one-dimensional characters, and I'm sure this has been discussed before, but what makes Baldur's Gate 3 so special, it's not just the characters, it's the arcs of these characters. Character development is one of the biggest things that make a story, good. Any storytelling, in a book, in a video game, in a TV show, especially TV shows, you need to see this character grow and develop and turn into something, because that's what we all do throughout our own lives, and that's what resonates most with us engaging in entertainment, is seeing a character grow and change and become who they're supposed to be. And this is what Baldur's Gate 3 does so well, not just with you, the main character, but also all of the other characters. They can all technically be main characters, and because of this, they had to think about how to write each character, into the world, and their backstory, their lore, their personal questline, and how they develop as characters. And it's not one-dimensional. There's so many different ways that they can, split off and become, a good version of themselves, a bad version of themselves, or just like, something in between, which is just a fantastic experience. Like, so many games fail that. And then it's the writing on top of it that makes it so captivating, because it wouldn't be good if the writing, the storytelling was bad, but all of these characters are so well written. And this is the big thing I want to highlight in this Baldur's Gate 3 2026 review, is writing, okay? Writing in video games, to me, have always been kind of lackluster. Now, I think this is a massive shame considering how big video games have become. Bigger than movies, TV, music, you name it, gaming is now the king. So when you see so many people engage in this media, you would expect good quality writing. But obviously, most of it goes to gameplay, microtransactions, live service slop, and all this kind of stuff. So it's very rare to get a game with good writing. But when one does, like Baldur's Gate 3 comes out, it just blows you away, because you realize, wow, this is absolutely incredible. When a game does strike that amazing writing quality, that's when it just blows you away, because you realize that you're actually taking part in this world that you love to experience, through like amazing, stories like Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones, but this time you're actually inside the world, engaging with all of the characters that are so well realized and so well written. And the reason why it's so well written is simply because it actually treats the material, the characters, the situations with respect. It has humor in it, plenty of humor, which I like, but it's not this, MCU type, it's not this MCU slapstick type humor that seems to be in everything nowadays because it's afraid to be serious. Baldur's Gate 3 goes into some dark places, it goes into some weird places, and there's no judgment because basically everything is possible. That's what makes this such a beautiful and crazy experience.
Let him cook! Let him cook now! Let him cook! I said let him!
Goddamn right.
It's just crazy to me how well this game is optimized, how well it runs on any hardware, and how smooth the gameplay is. Now that we have it in its complete form, there's a full epilogue added. So now in Baldur's Gate 3 you have a camera mode, which adds so much depth to this game already. When this game is crafted so well, with its art design, you want to explore all of that, and it allows for players to be creative. That's something else that this game just, harkens back to the days of, like messing around in Halo 2 lobbies, creating your own fun, breaking the game. This allows you to do that. You can stack boxes on top of each other, break something, find ways around, like use different spells and things that you wouldn't think of to play a game in a different way. So every time it's a fresh experience. When you think, is that possible? Usually 9 times out of 10, it is actually possible in Baldur's Gate 3. The developers actually think about situations that, creative players would think of. Also, Baldur's Gate 3 is a very balanced experience for the most part. There are so many different ways to play this game when it comes to combat, which I'm not really going to touch on in this video because it's good and it's very, very creative because you can engage in combat in so many different ways with so many different classes and mix classes together, subclasses, and there's so much RPG goodness to all of the combat, especially I would say it's one of the best turn-based combat experiences I've ever played, because I'm not even a big fan of turn-based experiences, but Baldur's Gate 3 made me love it simply because of how good the combat is, but that's already been done to death in other videos. But what I want to stress as well is just how well this game is paced. It has an Act 1, an Act 2, and Act 3. It's not a bloated open world mess. It has, handcrafted experiences, and, tightly designed world areas and zones for you to explore. I do wish there was a bit more backtracking that was allowed, but it has to progress through the storyline. I just think it's refreshing because in the current age that we're in with so much AI slop, Baldur's Gate 3 feels so human, so genuine, so well handcrafted, and I think that's something to celebrate in today's landscape. Now, another thing that Baldur's Gate 3 does so well, and this is a bit more of a analytical, introspective point, I guess you could say, but I feel like so many games just focus on you, the main character, leveling up, becoming stronger, being the one to save the world at the end of the day, to make all the choices and all this kind of stuff. Now, Baldur's Gate 3 is very different because it's about people around you. It's about second chances, redemption, themes that hit strong with me. And that's, to me, why this game stands the test of time as well, because it's a game that is actually not about you in many ways. It's about the people around you. And there's just something so refreshing about that. It's something that is just deeply human, and it makes you want to connect with other people more. And, it shatters your ego in many ways. And I think that's pretty special for a game. Now, of course, it's very helpful that this game is built on D&D, because the lore of Dragons and Dungeons is absolutely insane. How much stuff there is to experience, and how everything has deep background lore on it. And if you're like me and you like getting invested in other, universes and stuff like this, then I think that Baldur's Gate 3 is the perfect introduction, because I always thought it was too deep to get into, but Baldur's Gate 3 made me care about the lore, and it just adds so much more weight to everything that happens. This is why, good world building actually matters in stories, because if you just focus it on, the characters and the actual story, it holds weight, and many games do this, but when you have a whole backstory and universe to every single thing that happens, you know, each item, each weapon, each armor piece, books that you can read and explore, this is what makes it feel so fleshed out and incredible. Now, I think it's kind of cringe to talk about vibes in a game or in anything, to be honest, but the music in Baldur's Gate 3 is also just what elevates the whole experience. It's something that, you know, I absolutely adore. The music itself just is incredible, and, you know, when you think about games that pull you into that experience like Skyrim or something, you know, you think of the music, and Baldur's Gate 3 has such a fantastic soundtrack, you know, rivaling that of Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, stuff like that. Now, another thing Baldur's Gate 3 does so well is it never judges you. The creators, the writers, the developers, whoever it may be, usually, you know, set some kind of limit as to how something should be experienced, and, you know, basically limits what you can actually do, what you can say, because of certain agendas or just, you know, their own ideologies when creating something. The reason why Baldur's Gate 3 is so incredible is because of that sense of freedom. Most of the times, you know, you will find a dialogue choice that you would actually want to say. There's no limit on, you know, how you can express yourself, and that's just something that most games fail at today, but Baldur's Gate 3 does so well. So those are the reasons why you should play Baldur's Gate 3 in 2026, and I do hope you enjoyed this Baldur's Gate 3 2026 review. I know I didn't talk so much about gameplay. Like I said, the gameplay is fantastic. If you love, you know, just collecting loot, finding legendary weapons, going off exploring and fighting dungeons, bosses, and all that kind of stuff. But it's not that type of game, really. You know, it might look like it on paper, but what it is really, it's a narrative game, and that's what I wanted to discuss. It's a narrative-focused experience with so many different branching paths. It's not a massive open-world game where you're gonna be raiding tons of unique dungeons. It has those experiences in it, but it's much more of a handcrafted experience, but one that you can play over and over and over and over again. And that's what just makes it so refreshing and so polished. And the writing is just something that we need more in modern gaming, and we need experiences like this that treat the players with respect, an adult game for an adult audience, instead of all of this kind of PG adult experience with cringe writing, one-dimensional characters that we get. That is why Baldur's Gate 3 should be celebrated, and I just wanted to discuss that today, because hopefully this coming year we're gonna get more experiences like this, but at the same time, I'm not holding my breath. Let me know what you think down below in the comments about Baldur's Gate 3 in 2026 and beyond, and RPGs in general. Please do stay tuned for more videos now that I'm back at it. I fixed the mic, I got a new setup and everything, so I'm excited to get back into the swing of things. Thank you so much for being a wise one and watching another video. If you're new, like I said, subscribe, but thank you so much for being here. I'll be seeing you in the next video. Have a great day. Peace out.